here. I'm going to record this session for the people that couldn't come. So
Fantastic.
yeah, so today, and feel free, Fabio, I'll send it to you as well, so that if you know anyone that could benefit from this session, you can also pass it along. Okay,
Fantastic.
perfect. So the session, I decided to give it a title of how to find your ideal job, because that's what we really want. We don't want to be in, just like you're doing, Fabio, finding something to do in the meantime. Ideally, we have to keep that end in mind, which is, what really will satisfy you, long term. And so, what is an ideal job? Or if you want an ideal job, how will we define that? And for me, it starts with what you want. So that want is a big word. Most people start looking for job because they need a job, and needing a job will put you in a situation in which you will try many things, and whatever comes first you take, and you lose the ideal, you lose what you really, that unique opportunity that you have to maybe even reinvent, yourself, or reinvent the way in which you have done business, or whatever profession you had. And I think COVID, I'm an eternal optimist, and I think COVID that's one of the opportunities that brings us now, is for us to take a big hold on our careers, and whatever stage of your career you are, and think about, okay, what can I do now to better the way I was living my life? Because obviously we always spend a lot of time doing our jobs or being at our jobs. So it's a great opportunity to just rethink and evaluate what will make you happy, that will make you yourself, you want to make this your way of living for now, and until you decided that you want to work on. So traditionally, the way that people look for jobs is that they just start, okay, let me just put my resume together and throw it out there. So I think, for your benefit, anybody else's, everybody needs to start with a plan, right? And that plan starts with establishing not only, your end goal, which is getting that job that you need or you want, but also establishing, and I usually write things. Writing for me provides me the clarity and makes me go back to my notes, and I can always say, oh, that's where I started, and this is how much progress I've made. But, I want this type of job that pays me X amount of money and by this date. So declaring that to yourself and to other people that might be helping you with that job search is important, because it's not just that I need a job. I need a job is too big of and too blurred of a statement, right? So as we get the clarity of what we want, like in everything else, it's like, I want to lose weight. Well, how many people, they want to lose weight, they do the plans and start a gym, and then they get demotivated along the way. Well, the reason is because they don't see any progress, right? And so making a plan and putting milestones will make you measure in smaller bites until you get that job. What is the progress that you have made? What are the contacts that you have made? What are the things that you have made, to get there? And I think it's also important to start before even making your resume, is making a list of what your strengths are, right? Because sometimes we have forgotten, the many things that we have learned along the way, our experiences, and we need to talk as we get interviewed by others, or we want to express what we want, talking about what are we able to do, what are we really, really, really good at, right? And a lot of people, incredibly enough, they forget. If I, and I did this exercise once, if I were to ask a kid, what are you really great at? Kids between 5 and 10 years old, they immediately tell you, I'm great at, I don't know, building Legos. So I'm great at this sport, or I'm great at reading, or whatever it is. They just answer. It just flows. As we become more educated, we forget what our real strengths are. And we actually have to think about, am I really good at that? And you are your worst judge, right? So starting with a plan, milestones within that plan, a specific date, what you really want, and a list of your strengths is going to be critical for anyone that wants to start, looking for for a job, your ideal job. So the best way to start your job search, and this is kind of my model, you know, especially if you have experience, you have to be very, very industry and company specific. You know, is that what you want? Let's say I want to start with, I don't know, I'm just gonna make up a name with PPX and Associates. Okay, what kind of industry is that? How long have they been in business? And do my research about what the real opportunities are. Go to the company websites, do your research. This is a research within your research of a job, and be very specific. And tell people also if you're willing to relocate or not. So you have to come to terms with that. Company specific, industry specific, investigate about the company, see if they're hiring or not. You know, what do they say on their websites? What is their, you know, is the stock going up or not? So that you know if the company is really doing well. And if they're doing well, they're probably hiring. If they're doing bad, they're probably not hiring. So why even waste your time sending your resume? And if you're willing to relocate, you have to come to terms with what that is. Nowadays, there's a lot of companies that even though they say they're based in Des Moines, Iowa, really with the current situation, they're willing to take that talent from whatever part of the world they can get it. Because the world is virtual nowadays and people don't realize it. So don't stop yourself if you see the ideal company that in the ideal industry that you'll send that resume. And even if they say it's located in whatever, I guarantee you that they'll interview you if you have the right strength and the right skill sets for them. Because right now everybody's working remotely. So it's an incredible opportunity. And also don't be afraid to try. If you were working part-time, you know, go see, make the transition to full-time. Again, everything is remote. Or you can have 2 or 3 part-time jobs. You know, I know lots of people right now that are doing that. Especially people that were consultants in the past. They're working, you know, part-time with one company, part-time with another company, and then they have their consulting operations running at the same, in parallel with the 3 of them without defaulting on the loyalty and the commitment that they're making to those other employers. So it is possible. And remember, again, the world is so remote right now. So this is an incredible opportunity for people that couldn't find jobs before in their locations to go beyond the boundaries or even the countries in which they were looking for jobs. You know, I have used big firms in the past. I will only encourage to use big firms if you're really looking for like a C-level job or director, vice president, and if you know that that big recruiting firm already is in business with that company that you want to get into. Otherwise, you know, you're just one more resume. These people are absolutely busy right now. And the ones that are not busy is because they're not successful or they don't have the contacts. And remember that most companies, and I'm talking from being on the other side of the equation, being the employer, that the firms usually charge anywhere between 25 to 30% of the total compensation package of anyone that they recruit. So it's an incredible business for a recruiter, but it's not a good business for the employer. So the employer, that's why some sites have become very popular, like Indeed and Monster and LinkedIn and all those other ones, just because it's too expensive. So the big recruiting firms are only used for very sophisticated levels and very, very difficult positions to find. However, and that having said that, there are a lot of smaller boutique firms that they might be in business in that are specific to that industry or that company, and they have used that small boutique firm for a long time. So if you're able to identify who they are, and let's say a company interviews you, and the company says, well, we don't recruit people directly, we work with a recruiting firm. Then ask them what is the name of that recruiting firm, and then call them and just tell them in the position that you are, that you want to get a job in that company or in that industry, and you know they're a specialist in that particular area. And so ask them to help you, that you have seen that this is an opportunity. But then that you need to interview with them, that you need to feel comfortable, they will represent you well. They're usually more, they'll get money anyway, so they want the ideal candidate for that employer. So you need to make sure before you contract with them, in contract means they represent you because they don't charge you, they charge the company, that they will represent you well, that they know you well inside out, that they will make a statement on your behalf, that they will help you with your resume, whatever help interviewing and everything else that you need, because it's in their best interest that you also get employed by the person who's hiring you. But again, do not use big firms or any boutique firms. If that's not the way you want to go about it, that's fine. I know less and less people that use a recruiting firm. I'm only in favor of them if they really want to represent you and if they really want to talk on your behalf. Okay. And most importantly, use your network. I mean, who are the people that know you well, that have worked with you in the past, or that even if you haven't worked with them, that it's in their best interest to promote you and to represent you and to tell others about you. But with that, you can not just send an email, okay? So don't just stop there in an email. Just pick up the phone. It takes time, I know, or text and then stay with them for about an hour and tell them everything that you have done. What are your strengths? What do you really want? By when do you want it? Tell them about your plan. Tell them about the industry, the companies. Do you know anybody? And make a plan with them. Don't just leave it. Okay, well, thank you for listening to me, and I hope you can help me. Nah, it's not gonna help. The other person has to be committed to help you, and you have to tell them. You have to follow up with them too, right? If it's a reference letter that they're gonna do for you, my inkling is you send them kind of what you want them to say about you. And they can modify, of course, in terms of their own experience with you, what they want to say about you, but at least give them a template, because people are too busy and sometimes they get lazy and they forget, to give you that reference letter. So again, you have to take the initiative and ask your network to quote unquote work for you. Do you have any questions, anything you want to ask? I'm going to stop here for a minute.
So far, it's excellent. I'm liking it.
Okay, good. We're taking notes. That's excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, and so remember, and I think, and I love this saying, and I learned this a long time ago. The job or your skill is what you do, but that's not who you are. Sometimes we forget that. And to be completely honest, if you let the job title define you, like for example, you go to a party, right? Especially in the United States, what's your name? Marilena Beuses. What do you do? And then, so people can let them define, who the person is by what they do. And that's only, a tiny part of who you are. You're much bigger than that. God knows that you have all these experiences and, good ones and bad ones. And so I think it's a mistake that when somebody's interviewing you or somebody's interested in your profile, then you start telling them, well, I was the mechanical engineer for General Motors or whatever title you had, right? Because that's only part of you. That's part of your experience. But what really the others are will get engaged with you is your storytelling or what your experience is. One of the things that you have learned along the way, not just your job title. But so that's interesting. You work for General Motors. Tell me more about that, company culture. Tell me more about, how do you get, to be in that position, and what do you learn? How long do you stay there? And blah, 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 blah. And you have a team, all those extra things besides the job, but you doing the job. So your personality is key, and it has to flourish as you are telling that story, because that's the uniqueness. That's what people are going to fall in love with. The interviewers are going to fall in love with the person, not just the experience or whatever you're telling them in a resume. This is why, for me, it's so critical when I'm helping people get jobs, that they really get comfortable in their skin of the value they already have. And they talk from that space. They just don't talk from the place of the doing, but from the place of the being, because it shows your character, it shows your value system, it shows your personality, And people just want to gravitate towards people that not only bring the experience, but they have the character that will match the company culture or the project or whatever it might be that you're trying to do. So you are unique. And because of that uniqueness, you need to go past that resume. That's why I think so people are not finding jobs, because if you throw the resume out there, and even though it could be a stellar resume, people don't know that uniqueness. The resume doesn't say that about you. So there has to be more and more work besides the resume. But okay, you have to start somewhere. You say, oh, how do I craft my resume? So it starts with, yeah, people go, I'm good at this stuff, and they describe it. Well, it's not just that. If you just say that, you have to start with a statement of what that want is that aligns your offering. You're offering something to somebody, to that potential person who's going to want to work with you. So they need to understand what that is. And by the way, you have to align that statement with what they're looking for. So let me give you an example. And this is why resumes are so critical. Resumes are your business card. It was online. That's the way I look at them, right? Because it only says, okay, such and such, the name and experiences, blah, blah. It's just a blank, it's almost like a blank piece of your personality. It doesn't transmit your personality. And then again, on the other side, if you have not done your research and you don't know a lot about the company and what they're looking for, then you're just gonna do your standard resume. And that's not gonna work. It's not gonna fly. People are receiving hundreds of resumes every day. I was in HR before, and God knows that right now, a lot of people and software have, looking for keywords and all that stuff, but still you will not stand out. So one way to stand out, and one way in which these incredible softwares do their work, is that they look for keywords within that job description. So something that I always do is that the people that I'm helping find jobs, I ask them to send in their resume, and the resume needs to contain, either in the main statement if possible, if not in the description, key critical words that the job description that somebody posted online, you need to have those same things, because that's how those software, they call it the spider search, and they look for those keywords. So you need to use the same keywords as they're using, if you really, because that's the first filter, right? It could be automatic. And the resonance, if they are not using a software to do that, but the resonance with the interviewer or the potential people that person's going to be interviewing you, is that it resonates, it talks my same language. This person understands what I'm looking for, and they have the experience that I'm looking for as well, because you're using the same language. So, you need to adapt the resume every single time. You have to, it's not just the same resume for everybody. It's not going to work. It's not effective. You need to, again, be very, very clear about what you're looking for, what is your offering, and also be very, very conscious about writing the resume so that it will strike their eyes. And what I mean that is using the keywords of what they're looking for. So, and again, you want to make it personal and not too personal. People from especially other countries that have never worked in the United States, and for most countries that are developed, they put marital status, the number of children, my hobbies, my picture. No, don't include that. Don't get too close and personal right there. You can tell more about that if you're asked, if you want to disclose during the interview, but this is more about your offering in terms of your professional attributes. You do use your email and cell phone and your LinkedIn account, okay? People are doing, companies are doing more and more searches on LinkedIn than in any other platform out there. So you have to work on that profile. That's also another thing that I offer. I look at the profile of the people that I'm looking and see if that profile is effective. It's just as good as a resume, even more, because the one thing that your LinkedIn profile can do for you that your resume doesn't do for you is you can have people that have your testimonials, your references. So if you have not done that, look for people that know you well, and that you have worked with that start writing references for you only get is imperative, okay? Because that's what will give you more credibility. And again, a lot of young people out there that might be listening to this, you know, it was to my dismay that I found out that one of my kids, they were looking for jobs and they're in their 20s and they don't use email. And so of course, you know, their future employers are using emails to contact them, and they were missing some of the opportunities because they were waiting for text messages or Instagram or whatever else they were using, but that's not the way, at least not a lot of companies are using those ways to communicate with you. They choose to communicate with you in a formal way via email, and if anything, the more progressive ones are using text to communicate with you. So beware, keep that updated, and review that, you know, often. Say if you're willing to relocate or not. You know, some companies, it might be if something is very hands-on. They might, so for example, retail, you know, businesses, which, you know, you can do certain things online or remotely, but most of them will want you there. Again, if you're any manufacturing facilities and things like that, they might probably want you there. And so again, if that is the profile of job that you're looking for, just say if you want or not to relocate. Sometimes they just see your name, and if you are based, let's say in Georgia, and the position might be in North Carolina, they just, because of that, a lot of recruiters just throw your resume away without any consideration. So just say it in case that's something that you're looking for. I would not recommend that you put references. A lot of people do in their resumes. They references, they put the name of the person, even their phone numbers and emails. You know, my advice is to not do that because you're still just getting your foot in the door. But yes, of course, when you're interviewing, they ask you, do give those references in writing. And please either blind copy or call the person that is going to give a reference about you, and just tell them what is it about. What are these people going to be contacting you, them about, you know, about you and the kind of job they're looking and so on. So they're prepared. All right. Are we good? So far, so good?
So far, so good.
Good. Okay, great. Okay, the interview. And so the interview is tricky nowadays, again, because we all have pivoted to Zoom like we're doing today. The problem with that is that if you're looking at me right now, I'm looking straight to the camera. Okay, I'm not looking at the people that are here in my webinar because that will put my eyes looking down or sideways. So, you know, a trick that I do is that I use my wonderful Post-its, okay? And what I do is very simple. I do, you know, 2 eyes and a smiley face. And I position my camera. I open a hole in my Post-it, and I put it up there, right? So it's like I look like a little person, right? So I'm talking to somebody. It feels weird, but it works because during an interview, it's all about connection. You need to connect with the other person and that person with you, right? So you need to create the space and the environment under which you're gonna be, you're gonna look and you're gonna sound professional. So sound check is imperative before you start any interview. Your surroundings as well. There's no children, which is hard. There's not a lot of children, you know, out there walking around or screaming, or your dog comes in, you know, that. So it's, I mean, as simple as it sounds, a lot of people that make these mistakes, believe it or not. So again, make your environment around you, your office. You know, somebody tell me, do I need to dress up? And I said, well, it's, I mean, I will feel more, for me, more professional if I dress up. But again, it has a lot to do with what kind of impression and what kind of company, what kind of job you're looking for. If you're a musician, you're not gonna dress like the guy here in the picture, right? Because no, that doesn't portray a musician style. So again, it's up to you, but make sure that there's no distractions for you or the other person that is interviewing you. And again, because hopefully you did your research on the companies, you want to prepare questions about what might be going on in the industry or that particular company. And even ask questions about the person who's interviewing you. You know, how long have they been with the company? You know, what attracted them? You know, how do they feel working in that environment? You know, just again, get personal. That's the interview it's a two-way street. It's not just one way, okay? They then ask them, what will be the best way to follow up? Is there going to be more interviews? When will someone be following up with you, and so on? Okay, it's imperative that you do this. Sometimes they mention it, and sometimes we just ask them, would it be okay for me to follow up with you in a week or whatever it might be? Do ask about salary and benefits. They'll give you, at least if they don't give you the exact salary, they will give you a range if it's not disclosed anywhere else. And what kind of benefits do they offer, even if it's in general terms? If you're interested in a company that will offer you, I don't know, vacation times or insurance, ask them about that. It is proper to ask that in the first interview. Talk about yourself, because this is about you and what you're trying to portray, but please give time to others to ask, questions, or tell them about the company. That people just talk so much. I just have someone that lost a job because he was talking so much about himself that he literally did not give any time to the employer to tell anything about the company, and they thought it was just overwhelming interviewing this guy. So tell them again, not what they can read in the resume, but give them examples of achievement. Give them, why are you the perfect candidate? So sell yourself. So what we call, in other words, your elevator speech. Okay. So I call it their ROI, their return on investment. So you need to invest time on cleaning up your resume and have others look at it and criticize it. Especially people that have known you, have worked with you. Increment your social proof. The social proof is be very, very careful. And there's a lot of things that young people don't do well with your image in social media. Okay. You cannot be party hardy, because right now people are looking at you on Facebook, they're researching you on Instagram. And they don't ask for reference anymore. They go to social media to find out who you are. So it's very, very, what is there and it stays. So be very, very careful. How are you showing up also, because it's part of the trust that the employee is going to have on you. Same thing with what you portray on your LinkedIn. Create your elevator speech and practice. This is something that people do not do well. If there's one thing that I will encourage people to do, besides the resume, is this. You need to practice your elevator pitch until you get it perfect. And perfect means that represents you well, that you feel comfortable, you're not looking for extra words, that you can spend, 15 minutes. Elevator pitch are very, very short, 3 to 5 minutes to make an impression. And by the way, the first impression, that's what the interviewers go for. That's the impression that you make. Doesn't matter what else you say. Those 3 to 5 minutes are, if not less, are the ones that are going to make an impression. Do make those phone calls to the network that I told you about, the people that know you well, and ask for help. Have them commit to what kind of help they're going to give you. Don't just say, Hispanic. So in Latin America, we say, sí, okay, I'll help you, yes. But there's no commitment. There's no commitment there. Mm-hmm. And here you are in need of help. So in the United States, my experience is when you ask somebody seriously to help you and you follow up with them, they'll follow through as well. So build that commitment. And there are certain sites. LinkedIn is one of them. I love them for this. They have recently, they're like badges that you can put that you're looking for work. As a matter of fact, at least your abilities there too. And so, as a matter of fact, I have somebody that I have not talked for 30 years. And I just looked him up on LinkedIn the other day for something else. And I saw that he was looking for, that he's open for work. And I called him up and we had a 2-hour conversations. And then we, he told me a little bit of what he was looking for and I was able to help him. But if it wasn't because of that badge that he had, I would have never known that I could have helped him looking for work. So I'm going to stop there. I know it has been a lot of stuff very fast. We have 5 minutes left, so I'm open to any questions, suggestions, or comments that you might have.
Okay. On the resume tips, you said that we need to put on some keywords because of the automatic system. So how do I find the keywords that I had to put on my resume? Of course, it's case by case, but in my case, where do I find it?
In the job descriptions most of the time, the job descriptions that company are posting out there. And sometimes if they don't have a job description, what I do, Fabio, is that I just do a search on Google and I look for that title. For example, business planner for Purell, and it will give me kind of what that is for that company. It gives me the keywords right there.
Excellent. My last question is on the interview. You told me to be the sound professional and no interruptions. But my question is, should I wear a t-shirt or a tie or even a suit, or just be with a shirt and a tie?
So it's a great question, because what I found is that more and more companies are not using ties or suits anymore, unless, you know, even when they're looking for C-level positions. But again, it depends on the position you're looking for. It depends on the company culture. It depends on you, how you feel comfortable. You know, most people they wear just, you know, just like I'm doing today, a nice shirt, you know, for men or women. That's all they're looking for. They, you know, they're looking for, you know, some sort of professional demeanor. And again, it depends that, you know, for certain professions, you know, I interview people that they don't do office work, that they do, you know, there might be, for example, I was interviewing the other day a position for this guy who's a project manager, and he is working for a construction company, and the dress code for that company is business casual, and they all use polo shirts. So he interviewed with a polo shirt. It was perfectly fine, you know, as well.
All right, good. About the network and the connections, as I told you, I know a lot of people from Brazil, okay, and they're working there. I have some people, not too many here in the United States. So do you have any suggestion for me to improve my network here in the United States?
Absolutely. And the way to do that is you need to start connecting via LinkedIn. You need to start connecting with people that are in similar positions that you would like to apply for, and just do a request. Just, you know, I can teach you how to do that. You know, how to have a script. And why are you contacting them? Because when you just not ask them, but you put a why you're asking them, people get more excited that might like people want to connect with you. I wouldn't put that I'm connected with you because I want a job. You know, I wouldn't say it that way.
Okay.
Because that would be too blunt. But I would say,
Yeah.
You know, the work that you're doing in the company, you know, I'm highly interested in knowing more. You know, would you like to connect? Would you like to be part of my network? And then, you know, my second email with them is about, hey, you know, we connected. Thank you very much. You know, do you have time for a 15-minute call so I can understand a little bit better about, you know, what do you do, and tell you a little more about me. I just don't want to be, you know, one more person in your connections, but really, you know, care about connecting. And, you know, I've done this during the pandemic, and I have connected with at least 1,000 people in the last 3 months that I didn't know. And I probably talked to about 50 of them. It takes time, but, you know, you need to build that network, especially if you want a job in the US and you don't have it. Or your friends in Brazil don't have the network, because some of them might be in Brazil, but they might have networks in the US. So you know, you might be able to identify how can they put you in touch with their network.
Okay, that answered very well my question. Thank you. On my side, those are the 3 questions I had. One interesting thing you said that I never done in Brazil. We never ask for salary in the first interview, but as you said, I can ask here on the first interview.
Yeah, it is proper, because imagine that Fabio, that you are interviewing, it goes well, but the job, you know, it won't pay. So why continue with the process?
Yeah.
They are not
Perfect.
flexible. So, we have to be efficient that way too.
Okay.
Sounds good?
Fantastic. Yeah, that's good. Thank you very much. Personally, I think